Okay, this tutorial is going to help you answer this question up here, which we can see is asking us to identify which weather chart, X or Y, and here we have X and Y down here, is more likely to show the weather conditions being experienced in Britain on December the 24th, 2014. And that's what is shown in this weather map here. Now, the key to getting your 5 marks is that you're going to offer at least 5 reasons for why you chose it. So this is 5 explanations that is why you chose either this one or this one. Okay, so let me break this question down. How do we approach it? Well, this map shows us what the weather is on December the 24th, 2014. Okay, and we can see 3 cities. Okay, and we've got 3 weather symbols, one for each city, and they're all accurate. And they're just telling us if I was in Glasgow, then that is the weather I would experience. If I was in Manchester, then that's the weather I would experience. And if I was in London, then that's the weather I'd experience. And you should by now be able to read these synoptic weather symbols and not just know that, for example, that is the temperature, 2 degrees, but you should know something about the wind direction and the wind speed, the weather from the symbol that appears below the circle, and then what the circle itself represents in terms of how shaded in it is. Okay, now if we just take Glasgow as an example, knowing this, does that weather fit with either of these 2? Okay, so when you look at these charts X and Y, you have to understand what likely weather would you get based on what you can see in X and based on what you can see in Y. Now, first of all, what are you looking at when I talk about weather? Well, you would first be paying attention to what do the isobars tell you about wind speed and wind direction. And is there a difference in what the isobars are doing around Glasgow in X and what the isobars are doing around in Glasgow in Y? So, for example, are they in the same direction? Because if they are, that means the wind is coming from the same direction for both weather maps. Are they the same closeness? And if in one they're closer than in the other, then that would mean the wind was stronger. Does that then tally with what you're seeing over here? Now, that should start helping you make a decision, but if it's not made your mind up, then have a look in Manchester. Now, when you look at Manchester, you're thinking, okay, I can figure out what kind of weather we're getting in Manchester. Does that weather match with what I'm seeing in X, or does it match with what I'm seeing in Y? Now, once again, you're going to pay attention to the isobars, but you've also got more evidence because you should also be paying attention to the weather fronts. We've got 2 fronts. We've also got 2 fronts, but they're in a different location. Manchester is in a different place compared to those 2 fronts. And it's actually the same with Glasgow. If we have a look closely at Glasgow, you can see that Glasgow is in a different position in relation to the 2 fronts, which would therefore give different weather, which then might help you figure, okay, if I know something about weather fronts, then one of these is going to fit and one of these is not. If you're still not sure, well, then go down to London and think, right, is London in the same place? Well, London is the one clue I will give you is, in London's case, actually, it sits next to a warm weather front in both cases. So there isn't necessarily a difference in regards to weather fronts. Is there a difference in regards to isobars? Well, probably not. They're going in the same direction in both charts. The only difference, and it's a small one, is the distance between them. Here we can see the distance is quite far. Here it's a little bit closer together, but is that enough of a distance to make much of a difference? Because the isobars are still pretty far apart in both cases. So I think the one top tip I would give you for answering this one is that Glasgow and Manchester are the 2 cities that are probably going to give you the most evidence to help back it up. They're going to give you the most reasons. And you must have 5 reasons for why you accept one of these charts and reject the other. So you can't just say, I choose chart X because, or I just choose chart X. You need, I choose chart X because the weather in Glasgow says this, and this matches with, and then tell me what is the evidence from the chart you've chosen in terms of the isobars, what they show, or in terms of the weather fronts and what they show.